Remove the restraints. Become the villain. Not every villain is evil. Sometimes they stop pretending to be good. In anime and in life, the moment a character embraces their villain side is when they become real, unfiltered, driven, and honest about what they want. Something in our soul resonates with that, because deep down, we want to do it. But fear, guilt, and molarity stops us. This video isn't about glorifying evil. It's about owning your ambition, your pain, your darker motivations, the parts of you that society tells you to suppress. In this video, I'll break down characters who are villains in their anime, which embraced their villain side, and what you can learn from these characters. Have you ever wanted to start caring about what others think? If so, Toji is your guy. And this is freedom through detachment. Toji Fushiguro is a sorcerer killer, one of the most fascinating villains, and probably one of the coldest villains, because of his power, but also because of his mindset. In a world where power is measured by cursed energy, Toji has none, yet he turns his weakness into strength, honing his body instincts to perfection. He becomes capable and does take down Gojo, the strongest sorcerer, by anticipation and preparation. But Toji's real strength isn't just physical, it's mental. He doesn't care about anyone, anything, or the rules that define his world. His detachment makes him quite terrifying. However, he's free. He's a man with no restraints, no illusions, no guilt. The master of his own fate. People love him because he represents that part of us that longs to break free from expectations and molarity. Toji, in a sense, doesn't chase validation, doesn't seek approval, he simply is. Toji isn't evil, he's what happens when someone stops apologizing for who they are. Toji's detachment mirrors Stoicism. Ultimate freedom comes from the mastery over oneself, not over others. Sometimes the freedom we crave is in letting go of what others think. But freedom isn't always achieved by detachment. Some seek it through rebellion, even if it means becoming a devil. And the person that embodies this is Eren Yeager. Freedom over molarity. Eren from Attack on Titan might be one of the most interesting and fascinating villains. Though some may say he's a villain, some may say he's not. However, the character is driven by willpower, freedom, meaning in a world determined to crush both. Eren embodies free will, the idea that true freedom comes from creating our own values rather than following society's molarity. In a sense, Eren decides freedom is the only truth worth dying for, even if it means becoming the devil. If you win, you live. If you lose, you die. If you don't fight at all, you can't win. He accepts being hated because in his mind, freedom is worth any price. And he says, I'll keep moving forward until I destroy my enemies. Not our sadism, but our conviction. Unlike Toji, Eren's path is, in a sense, more emotional and desperate. He doesn't seek power for its own sake. He seeks it for liberation, even if he becomes the devil to get it. And that's why his story is it hits very hard, very, very hard, because we all want freedom, but we fear what the cost may be. And I had this conversation, or my friend hit me up with this conversation, input to this conversation about freedom over molarity and Eren. And in a sense, he said to me, Eren chooses to shoulder the burden alone. And in a conversation which he had with friends about inheriting his titan, he says no to others, and he wants to take on the devil role in a sense. And because he knows his power, he knows about the cycle, the transmissions of his future self to past inheritors, and then the deeper moral ambiguity is that, is it evil to be free? Eren's narrative extends beyond fiction in a sense. It parallels real-world figures who wield extraordinary amount of freedom, such as Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and for example, Mark Zuckerberg. These individuals can shape the world, but often at the cost of others. And the question arises, is exercising the ultimate freedom inherently corrupt? Or is morality defined by the weight of the choices freedom demands? In the sense that, with Toji, he was born with detachment. Eren's freedom is inseparable from responsibility. He doesn't pursue power for its own sake, but through liberation, even if it destroys him. And in a sense, his story resonates because freedom carries moral weight, and sometimes the cost of liberation is self itself. And in a sense, Eren's choices reflect existentialism. He creates meaning in a meaningless world. Freedom without moral constraint comes with unbearable responsibility. Could you make the sacrifices Eren does to achieve your ultimate freedom? But while Toji and Eren chase freedom through detachment and rebellion, some villains achieve it through control and cunning. Lastly, and the best for last, is Askeladd, power through control. In Vinland Saga, Askeladd isn't the strongest warrior, but undoubtedly the smartest man in a world that only respects brute strength. While others fight with words, he fights with understanding. He knows what people want and how to make people believe they are choosing for themselves. In a sense, he plays both sides. And in a sense, the best way I can explain is a man with many masks. He's a Viking, Welsh, soldier, mercenary, servant, and a kingmaker. He lies when it's necessary, and also when it benefits him, and he flatters when it also benefits him. But lastly, he kills when it's required. Not out of cruelty, but because he understands something that many don't. Morality is a luxury for those who need to survive. Askeladd, in a sense, embodies Machiavellism. Every action is calculated, every betrayal has a meaning. But his brilliance not only just shines through his cunning ways, but in a sense, his strength. He knows when to act, when to speak, and when to let the world think it's winning. And in a sense, true power that he shows isn't about dominating others. It's about mastery of yourself. So when the moment comes, or when the moment is demanded, you know and you can become what is required. In a sense, it's understanding and anticipating the world around you. It's a form of freedom, just as potent as rebellion and detachment. In a sense, what you can learn from this video, or the lessons from these characters, is Toji demonstrates detachment, Eren embodies conviction, Askeladd embodies control. Each of these characters represents a different path to freedom, a different way to giving into parts of ourselves that society tells us to suppress. By embracing your inner villain, I'm not giving anyone an excuse to be cruel or an evil human being start hurting people. But in a sense, it's a way of owning our truth. These characters show that a villain is not necessarily the enemy. Sometimes a villain is simply the aspects of ourselves that is honest, fearless, and doesn't compromise for anything. Giving in to your inner villain doesn't mean becoming evil. It means accepting parts of ourselves that want more, that refuse to shrink, that refuse to obey every expectation placed upon us. Sometimes to be human in a sense, or be fully alive, is that we gotta stop pretending to be good and start being real.